What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
Hi, my name's Tina Slade, and I work within Expansion. So I'm a light language energy healer and a galactic channeler. I'm based here in the UK, in West Sussex, and I'm quite close to the coast. So I'm near the sea, but I'm also close to the downs and the forests, which is perfect for me to connect into all of those matrix systems.
Well, it's great to have you on. I'm inundated right now with light language channelers. Isn't that funny? Yeah, there's so many.
Time.
It is. You know, I remember a time when it actually really, there was very little people out there doing it.
It's about our blueprints, Kevin. We are being called. I mean, I'd never heard of light language. 3 years ago, honestly, I'd never heard of it. And we are awakening. And those of us who are using the codes of our light language are here to assist in the awakening of those who are bringing in the new golden age. So that's why there's so much more. I'm activating it in my clients. So the more we connect to our light language, into our sovereignty, the better it is for all of us. We're coming home.
Absolutely. And you're in your cabin, and that's where you do a lot of your, that's where you do all of your sessions, basically.
I do also. I work in this beautiful cabin, and It's very strange. I had no idea that I'd be working in the quantum world, but obviously it's part of my awakening. And we have a very small garden. How on earth could I possibly get a cabin in my garden? We had no money. And then all of a sudden, I'm in my cabin, and in my cabin, magic happens. I have a master pyramid that's been gifted to me. So we work within the sacred energy of the golden codes. I have a crystal ball under my cabin, which is used not only for bringing up energy, but also for when I've finished work, for me to place my energy back down inside. And when I work in my cabin, we alchemize, we create beyond magic. We move through time and space. I'm connected Sura Miniska Dasana Kushe up into the galactics. But when I come out of my cabin, it's like coming off of a swimming board. You know the boards at the swimming pool. I drop straight down into 3D because we're navigating a third dimensional life as well as our fifth, sixth, and seventh dimensional lives. So it's interesting. I'm never happier than when I'm here.
Right. I was going to say that it must be very weird to sort of, do sessions back to back sometimes, or even just one session, go to all these dimensions, which we're going to talk about in this interview, and then come back and then walk out and, that you've left that energy.
And so I'm up in the stars and I'm channeling all of the light beings. I'm connecting my clients to their multidimensional self. And in 20 minutes time, I'm in Tesco's trying to choose what I want for dinner that night. And I'm light languaging down the aisles. It is the strangest. I'm navigating it, but sometimes I would much rather stay here. Honestly, it's so beautiful.
So for those who may not have come across light language before, because we're going to dive right deep into it, right? And I don't want to lose people completely just at the very beginning. So light language for a newbie. Now, light language, having interviewed many people that do light language, right? They've all got different understandings, their own truth on what it is. What is your nuance? What is your take on light language in a sense?
Okay, so my light language for me, and I always say when I'm working, see if it resonates with you. So my light language is more me than I am me. I would rather speak light language all day than speak in English. I dream in light language. I converse in my sleep in light language. And it is my connection to my multidimensional self. It opens up the channels that I can reach into through time and space. I can channel other clients' star beings. There are multiple dialects. I couldn't do this work until my frequency had been lifted and raised. So Kieska Dosha Manushka, it comes in with frequency, it comes in with codes, it comes in with tone. I often tone in light language as well. So it is something different to everybody. But what it does, it allows me to bring in all the aspects of myself, Kura Miniska Dashan or Kura Kise Sanakaye. So I can come in and through my light language, I can come into your energy field. And I look at your field, I see your templates. I'm able to code in your templates. I'm able to change DNA in the templates. I can bring in your remembrance, all from the frequencies that come from my individual channeling.
Now, you did give me a reading, actually, and I'm just trying to go through my paperwork here just to find out. And I thank you for that reading as well, because it was, it's not something that happens all the time with guests. It's very rare, to be honest. I guess because we're all so busy. But I cannot find, if I find it, I'll dig it out, right? But there was some words that you used that I found really interesting, what you said. I will get it. Actually, we were introduced by a lady called Jennifer, so I just want to thank her for introducing us and making that connection.
Yes.
So you mentioned many things there. You also said about having to work on yourself, which we're going to get into because that was part of your journey as well, to get to where you've got to right now. You've got some wonderful quotes on your website, and I'm just going to start with that as well. Your website is?
It's Tina Slade Expansion.com.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of the services that you do as well, because it really does, it all relates to your work. So, okay, you quote on your website that you're a light language healer and galactic historian channeler. Just break that down for us.
Okay, so when I connect with my clients, using my light language, I am able to come into there, and I'm going to talk about blueprints and matrix systems, but basically we're just meaning energy. Let's demystify all of this because it doesn't need to be technical. I drop into trance. So in terms of channeling, I channel light language, but I also drop into trance, and I now channel Oracle, who is an aspect of my higher self. An Oracle has, and the way I describe it, it's like we open a book of who my clients are. And we will go back and forward through time. So we will go back into past lifetimes, and we will also go back into planets where they have lived off Earth. Because if we talk about the reason why I'm doing this work is that we are all ascending. We're all trying to come up in our vibration. We're on Earth in a humanoid body to work on the lessons and karma that we've had. And I really probably don't like the word karma, because all we're doing is we're learning from the light and the dark, the light and the shadows of our experiences. So to be able to understand that we hold on to fear from certain lifetimes, we hold on to other emotions as energetic beings which are stuck within our energy field. When we understand that, one, we have this moment of, oh, well, that makes absolute sense. And two, I can come in and assist those people to actually shift and move through that. And when we remove all of the lower energy fields which are shown to us, that's when we're able to bring in more light. That's when we're able to move through all of those blockages, all of those things which keep us small, all of those things that stop us being able to talk our truth. When we understand that, one, we have a real recognition of who we are and the journeys we've taken, but it allows us to connect into our gifts. And we're constantly shifting through our shadow side. That's what we're here for, the soul evolution. And by being able to channel through Oracle, and I can take them back into past lives with details about their passing or what's happened to them. When we come in to do the light language activations and the clearing, I can come in on those specific areas and we can release that. Therefore, you are lighter. You have more knowing. You can bring in your gifts and you move forward in all the areas where perhaps you've been blocked in the past.
Thank you for that. In my reading with you, what stuck out with me there, and it's only just 4 words, well, 5, but you mentioned what came through in that reading was a crusader of dark energies. And when I reflected back on that, I thought, well, you know what? If I'm going to do the news, I guess it is a bit like that in a sense. Because it does cover some dark energy subjects in it. You know, you could say, I mean, some of the people that are out there right now doing what they're doing to others, to many, you know, you could say there's a dark energy working with that, most definitely.
So what was interesting, and whenever I channel, I have to say, I see so many clients, I don't remember what I channel because so what happens, the energy field changes for me and Oracle will come forward and I step aside into a white light and I literally step aside, my consciousness moves out and I channel. And when I'm finished channeling, my team will bring forward sort of like strap lines of what was needed to be really understood. Everything's recorded, so there's so much information, you cannot take it all in one time. And it's interesting when you were talking about that, and if I remember, because they're just Kieska, Dosha, Manushka, they're just bringing into me, we were talking about your Andromedan aspect of yourself, Kura Miniska Dasana Kusha Kiesanaka. And one of the reasons you've come into this incarnation is absolutely, it's about challenging the dark that's happening at the moment. So we're in that false reality. We're in the reality of suppression. We're in a reality of separation and fear. And one of the things with you, your honesty, is the fact that vocally you have to shine a light on that. You're driven in a way that you can't go against the tide because you are a fact finder. You're bringing that forward for others to see. And then once you've done that, everyone has the opportunity to do what they want to with that information. And it's very similar, Kevin, to what I'm doing. People find me through the weirdest. I've given up being surprised at how people find me, because there will be a timeline where they reach and hit that timeline and they know that they need to come into their awakening. You hit that timeline quite early. You know, you're busting the myths of what is happening and bringing out the truth from the non-truth. And that's coded so much within you. And that also brings in your Andromedan side. And if I remember rightly, as they're showing me, I did say to you, you were quite a galactic explorer as well. And also quite high ranking within the Federation. So there comes an authority with you. There comes, when you speak, people listen, and you have a way of delivering that which you need to share. And honestly, take my hat off to you, because all of us who are fulfilling our blueprint have come to this timeline convergence where we're assisting others to come out of the sleep state. We're assisting others to come into their power and to ascend into whatever level of awakening they have chosen to do before they come down into this incarnation. And interestingly, sometimes with my clients, I connect with my clients on a heart level all the time, but other times I connect because I know that we either hold the same frequency or we've been to the same planets. But sometimes they will actually show me the point where off planet, both of us agreed to work in this timeline, in this reality. That blows my mind.
Yes, and we'll get into that as well, the whole idea of the multiverse and we're all fractions, I suppose you would call it, or
we're fractals.
Fractals,
we're
that's the word for it. Yeah.
We are. So there's so many things to share. And the one thing I'd like to say once again is that, a couple of years ago, I knew none of this. And I've been on this rocket ship that I didn't even know that I was strapped into. And to suddenly wake up and I have star beings in my bedroom, or I've been taken up into spacecraft and I've had healing and upgrades there. All of a sudden I've come into this multidimensional understanding that sits so beautifully with me. But in my third dimensional life, it was like, oh my goodness, what on earth happened there?
Absolutely. We'll get into that. We will. I know you've been through a journey, most definitely, like we all have. And as you were just mentioning bits of my soul aspects, in a sense, right? Or what I'm here to do as well. I'm still working on my own stuff. I'm, no way am I, in any way perfect or free of any issues. No matter who is doing this work, you're still tested. You're still put to the test, in a sense. You've still come here to work on yourself as much as you are trying to give back as well.
I cannot tell you, we never stop learning and evolving. And as much as I might have access to all of this information, I'm still having a human experience. I am still tested. I am still triggered. But the one thing that I can say from sort of being at this in this dimensional time and space is that I have the tools now to understand. So before, when I was triggered, I would always drop into anger, and I was always dropping into why me? Why has that happened? Now I have a perspective, and this is what I'm teaching. When we have a perspective, it allows us to be above it. So we're not in it, we're above it looking down. So when we're not in the experience, well, let's change it. When we are in experience, we drop into all of those lower frequencies. We manifest illness. And it's very hard to come out of that shadow work, if we wanted to call it that. When we're able to have the perspective of coming up as a compassionate observer of what is happening to us, it allows us to detract from those lower core emotions of anger, fear, the victim. And it allows us to come in with compassion, because many times the experiences we have, the people who have brought those experiences to us have already contracted to bring that to us. They have agreed to show us that, because we cannot learn unless we experience. So when we think of people with anger, if we turn that around, and it takes a long time to do this, and I'm still not an expert on this by any means, But if we actually give gratitude for you showing us that experience, then it makes it easier for us not to drop into the lower frequencies, which do cause that energy shift in our body that creates illness. Because every illness is an energy block. We make ourselves ill, we make ourselves better. We have the power to do that. We are incredibly powerful beings. And the suppression that we've experienced has dumbed us down. It's taken our power, our sovereignty away. And by awakening, you come back into your power.
Yes, it's all about awakening, isn't it? Well, from the perspective of seeing things from a higher perspective, to see above the woods or the trees rather than being in it, in a sense. But that is part of the awakening. And you mentioned illness there as well, but what about when people create long-term injuries to themselves, where it's not such an easy thing just to recover from an illness, it's a long-term injury?
Yeah, so everything, when I came into the quantum world, I found, chance by not by chance, Dolores Cannon, and I became a QHHT practitioner. And I was fascinated because Dolores always says that no accident is an accident. And that's so true, because when we create illness, it's for several reasons. And through my QHHT work, when people have chronic illness and you go into the subconscious mind and ask what has created that, they come up with the most amazing revelations of, I wanted to have the comfort of my mother who didn't recognize me. So we created an illness in order to get that attention, having to have hospital appointments, etc. When we have accidents, it is always either to slow ourselves down, depending on where the injury is, or it's to allow us to have a learning within that. And we go back into past lifetimes as well, because it all links in. We are inextricably linked into everything that we are, from the point of our split from source to the point where we are in our learning. So if we have the power to make ourselves ill, we stop and we get to a point where we understand what is the underlining, what is the underpinning emotion that comes with this. And when I became very ill, I was so poorly. I had all the symptoms of MS. I had the most horrendous stutter. I couldn't even hold a conversation. And in fact, I can remember going out to a local store and having to ask for something. And it took so long to get the words out that the person just turned away. He walked away. He just walked away. And when I could understand, and I did all of that inner work, which was so destroying, to have to destroy myself to rebuild myself, I understood exactly the reasons why I'd made myself ill. And as you can see, I have no stutter because I found my voice. But I had to go through not only lifetimes experiences in this 3D, but I had to go back, and luckily I can do that. I was able to go back into many lifetimes where I've had my voice silenced and my fear of speaking silenced. And also to be able to do this work, to be able to be here and talk with my light language without any worries about judgment, I had to go back through my lifetimes where I'd been tortured, where I'd been hung, all of those terrible things. But also, Kevin, I had to heal the terrible things that I had done to others, because we have had dark lifetimes and we have had lifetimes of light.
Yeah, that's right. And aspects of those lifetimes are still probably as they were for you, not probably they were, but for others as well, probably showing themselves. They manifest in different ways, don't they?
Absolutely. And one of the things with wanting to be our best selves is an understanding that when source splits, so we have source, and you can call source God, you can call it whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just a 3D conceptualization, but we're talking about source energy. In order to understand itself, it had to understand the extreme opposite of itself, which is where we get the yin and the yang, the light and the dark. So for us to be ascending into consciousness, we have to understand that not only have we been the lightest of the light, we have been the darkest of the dark. And for me to get to this point, I have had to face some really, really dark lifetimes, because this life is about balance. And when we can balance that, then we come into our understanding. And we're balancing not only what has been done to us, but also what we have done to others to understand the extremes.
So, in a sense, long-term injuries and issues related to that, you feel it all comes from past life issues and issues that maybe we were supposed to do, maybe not even past life, but agreements that we had prior to coming here for those around us, and of course ourselves as well, for so many myriad of reasons we're not maybe meant
we
to
can't
know
understand it.
but to see, but when you can come from that space, what you're saying is it's very free, and then you're above the trees, then not to,
you're not in it, you're above it.
But then the pain may be intense, it may be constant pain.
We go through the nights of the dark soul. And also the other way of understanding is that when we have disabilities, sometimes we have agreed, and we have to, really take away our judgment on this, because some people will find it difficult to understand. Sometimes we have agreed to teach others. So when I'd said, when people do things to us, our first reaction is to be angry at them. If we understand that actually they've agreed to show us those lessons, also with illness and with disabilities, it might well be that you've contracted to show the person and the people who are close to you the learning of compassion or forgiveness or of service. So we never know which way it is, but it is always orchestrated before we incarnate into the physical body.
So even long-term pain,
yes,
and there's many people that suffer from that.
Yes,
I'm just thinking right now, and that this is without no judgment to any poor soul that's suffering from long-term pain. My heart goes out to them, right? But maybe that long-term pain is almost like they are not going to shift any other way except for this experience that they're having now, and for everyone else. Very easy for me to say these words. I'm not experiencing it, so it has, but just what if?
For compassion when we say this, Kevin, because we're not detracting from anything, any pain. Some of my clients that I have seen, I don't know how they have the strength to go on each day. But when we can shift our perspective, so let me give you an example. I've been working with a beautiful lady who has been absolutely bedbound for years. We've started working, and it's not that we go, oh, hang on, bish, bash, bosh, oh, I'm cured and I'm shining light. We have to do the night of the dark souls, and many nights of the dark souls come up for us. And one of the things that I do is I hold that space to allow those people to understand what needs to be seen, what needs to be released. When we came together last week, she said to me, well, I looked at her and automatically her energy had shifted. And she said to me, you will never guess. She said, I actually painted my shed and my fence last weekend. Wow. She said, before we started working, I couldn't even get out of my bed. Everybody has the ability to make that shift. It's whether they truly want to do the work.
So they could come to you.
They can go to anyone, Kevin.
Get to anyone.
Not
that's
just
right.
me.
That's right. Of course, that's not right. But for example, right, they could come to you. But if they are sane on the outside and they're ready for it, but inside they're not,
I will see that because I work in energy.
But you may not tell them that. You may not tell them that you see it all the time. You may see it, and maybe there might be a reason you hold it back sometimes, because you want to give them the most opportunity to see it in themselves. Or maybe, I don't know, you seem like quite a tough lady in a sense, right? That you wouldn't hold back, right? But
there is no point in whatever I am shown. The one thing for me, I always work in honesty. I hope that I will always deliver it with love, because otherwise I can't work in this way. So if there is something that needs to be heard, I will be given it in a way, so they will give that information to me in a way that I can deliver it and hold that response. It might well be that that client then needs to go away, digest and integrate, where we have started to heal through the channeling and through my light language. So just let me also explain. So when clients see me, first of all, I never know where I go. Every session is different. I have a really small concentration span, honestly. And if it was like everyone was the same, I would move off and do something. I'll probably be working in a shop or something. So for me, everything is different. So I will read the energy field, then I will channel. I never know what we're channeling. We could be channeling things from multiple past lives, things that have been brought in galactically, if we've been involved in galactic wars, if we've been involved in breeding programs, all of those things. And then I come in and I will work with my light language and I code very specific codes. I hold the energy codes for what we call key codes. I'm the only holder. They've been ignited into my remembrance because I've hit the timeline for those codes to come out. So if I've worked with someone and I know they have lots of work to do, it might take them 3, 4, 5, 6 months to integrate not only the information that's been given, but the frequency that we've shifted through. And that's one of the reasons why my clients will say, well, when do I need to come back to you? And I say, no, your higher self will always tell you when you need to see me. Because for me, everyone integrates at different times. Some people have a lot of density to remove, and that might take them as long as it takes them. We work outside of the time matrix. So it's all individual, but whatever needs to be told, the higher self has already agreed that in the meeting and coming together with me. So I will deliver anything I have with compassion. But if it needs to be heard, it needs to be heard. And I will always follow up. I never leave my clients. I always follow up with a check-in, to see how you are, because there might be questions that come up. But for me, I stand aside. I'm a channel. Kieska dosha manushka dire kieska. I will deliver whatever is in their blueprint to be awakened and understood in that moment in time, which is why when I worked with you and suddenly we went into that world of mine, you needed to know that actually you are a crusader, because within the aspect of yourself, it allows you to continue on that journey when there are blockages put in your pathway. It tells you who you are.
Yes. And I think some days are good, some days are okay. And then you just got to remind yourself of some of the points that we're talking about sometimes, just to remind yourself that to be in the moment as well is important. To be in the
moment, absolutely, but also to understanding that we are having a human experience. I've cleared so much of my density because I can't work at this frequency while I held that density. I've cleared so many dark lifetimes that have absolutely, at one point, I couldn't even recognize myself in those dark lifetimes. So we have to understand that it's not, yes, it's difficult when we have to face all of those feelings, things which have been done to us. But the reason is we've chosen to do it. That's why we've come to Earth. We've come to Earth to balance, and we've come to Earth to learn. And that's what we've signed up for. And yes, it's hard. I still find it hard. Honestly, I'm still having experiences given to me. But it means for me that not only in all of the chaos that has been my life, and my life has been complete chaos, I can hold that space because I understand how it feels to have that happen to you or to hold that within you.
Yes, and I think that speaks a lot when you are living your teachings, most definitely.
Yeah.
Now, a quote on your website, I want to mention this, is that you say, I have returned from my future to assist and awaken our light being family back to their true remembrance. I find that fascinating, right? That that came through for you, that you were more in alignment with your future self. There was a future self that was your more present moment at one point, and now this time that we're in now is more your present moment, and that takes a hell of a lot to even try to get in your head. Why did you come back in a sense and it's not a sense of like, it's a soul, we're talking about a soul coming back in a sense, but I'll let you answer that. Yeah.
Okay, so once again, with anything that I'm teaching or sharing, always see if it resonates with you. See if it's your truth as well. So for me, I am existing in multiple realities within the stars. This existence I have on Earth is a third dimensional existence where I am channeling my multidimensional self. I agreed as my future self to bring down the light language and codes that I hold in order to assist others come into their blueprint of their awakening. I couldn't have done that in a 3D self. That's not possible. So when I connected to Oracle, Oracle is that aspect of my higher self that's existing, that has access to all the information of who you are within your multidimensional self.
Okay, so you're not coming back in a sense. I've mistakenly said that. In a sense, what you're saying.
Aspect.
Yes, but you're an aspect of what's already is out there, and to us it was seen as future. But you're pulling in from that energy more traits from that aspect than other lifetimes.
Yes, but we all are, Kevin. So we exist so who we are now, and the way they showed me to explain, I'm very visual, which really helps in explanations. I always explain it as though, you have a beautiful fan, and each of that fan has spines on it. That's who we are within our energetic body. So you will have those spines of the fan. They are aspects of yourself which are existing currently off planet. We are multidimensional, existing within a reality of multiple realities. We in this body, this is why we astral travel at night. This is why some of us can come out of our body and can go into other realities which are existing simultaneously with this time and space. So if we take away the fact that we are a singular in a 3D body, and we embrace the fact that we are multiple energy systems within a huge expanse of multiverses, because we don't just have one multiverse, we have so many multiverses, that we are existing as a conglomerate of energy. And it just so happens that right now in this consciousness, we are connected into this holographic avatar and this false reality. And those who have been able to come outside of their physical body, going back into different dimensions, will automatically live within different realities which are existing. So when I channel Siesa Makushka Meniska, I'm connecting up into Oracle, who is an aspect of my future self, but actually my current self, because it's connected to who I am in my energy field. Does that make sense?
yeah, sure.
So there are Kevins all over the multiverse.
Of course, I've heard this so many times in different ways. I find it fascinating, I think what it does for me, and maybe it does it for other people as well, it just to understand our greatness, like how much we are able to really achieve no matter what circumstances we're going through in this lifetime. That's what it really says to me, that if that's really going on, which I have a feeling it is in ways you've described it your way, and maybe we can't even understand it. We're not meant to understand, but just to have that analogy is like, limitless. Well, it's limitless, isn't it? What we can do, but we limit ourselves, don't we?
And when we move past our limitations, everyone can see templates, matrices in the sky. Everyone can connect to the trees. Everyone can connect to the earth. Everyone can see all of that which exists. It's like we wake up and suddenly, for me, it was like a ha-ha moment of, oh my goodness, this is an absolute false reality. This lifetime is so insignificant. We get so het up on having a new car, a big house, all fancy clothes. this isn't what this is about. We are coming back into our compassion. We're coming back into consciousness. And when we understand that we've been programmed into not only a false money matrix, that also we have a false reality of control and suppression, when we're able, and if we want to, because there is no judgment, when we're able to go, do you know what? I'm not buying into that anymore, because I know that it is not true. Then we come back into our sovereignty and we can do anything. We are limitless.
Absolutely. I do feel that way as well. Let's get a little bit into your story now. I know that you talk about childhood a little bit. You've talked about this before. Just go over childhood with us and what you remember, that maybe there was some sort of connection there when you look back now, and what that did to you, what that experience was like in childhood, with that extra, valve that was open in a sense.
Yeah. So I came into a very narcissistic programming, and as many of us have done. And for me, from an earlier recognition, I mean, I'm a third generation psychic, so I've always had the awareness, I always had the sense of energy and clairvoyance and clairaudience. And my mum was the most amazing medium, but never did anything with it because my father wouldn't allow her to. So I always had that knowing. And I can remember always feeling never connected to anything, and having this yearning to go somewhere where I didn't know where I wanted to go, and to be with people who understood me on a level that I didn't even understand myself. And I can remember a time where I was actually off of and out of Earth, looking down on Earth, knowing, and I get the feeling even now, looking down, going, I'm not of that place. That's just not real. And, I had loads of challenges. I was dyslexic. It was, when I went to school, it wasn't ever picked up. So I always felt the need to prove myself. And it was a tough journey for me, as it is with lots of people when we've decided to incarnate in something which will show us about reclaiming our power. And you'll find that many people who have this, who have asked to come down and understand about reclaiming their power, will be in narcissistic families and relationships, and will be having those challenges which keep them very small. And for me, the way I validated myself, because I always thought I was such a horrible person, was I needed to be a people pleaser. And a lot of people will relate to this. We become people pleasers. We say yes, we can't say no. And I went through all of that until, up until 3 years ago, when so many challenges came into my life, so much came up for me, that actually I needed to be able to heal that, release it, and to release that anger before I could come into the work I needed to do, which I didn't even know was happening, but we have to trust and believe.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had what we would call, and I've called with other people, a very normal, successful career in a sense. I mean, you went on to do what would be classed and be seen as success and everything that you really wanted, but you were never happy, were you? And so and the depression just got worse, didn't it?
I had depression from a child. I had depression as an adult. I had postnatal depression. Depression was a thread that went all the way through my life, because there was such a deep core of me that was so broken. And until I could have the courage, until the universe said, you know what, one, I needed to do this work. I hit that timeline convergence. And until I was literally wiped out, I became so ill, I left my house to end my life. That's the state I'd got to. And it was for two reasons. One reason, because I needed to come into the quantum world and I needed to rebuild myself, but also so that I can relate to others who have experienced that darkness, who have experienced that level of,
yes.
You can't help others in their awakening unless you can relate to them in what they're going through.
Well, it's like saying to someone, I went through an abusive relationship. If you've never been through that before, how the hell are you gonna even comprehend what's, how can you describe madness to someone that has no level of understanding of that?
You can't. And, I work with clients with significant emotional problems, and I can't, if I can't sit there and go, oh my goodness, not only as a natural empath, I feel you, but if I can't say, I feel you on a level that it matches my pain, it doesn't make you genuine. And the one thing I want to do is just be absolutely genuine on our journey, because we've been through so much trauma, but we don't have to be shaped by that. We can change that, and we can rebuild ourselves to who we're meant to be. And it's interesting as well, because just recently, some of my clients have been coming to me. Well, about 3 months ago, I started to be shown, and we were talking about my childhood, which is why I've reverted to it. I've been starting to show I have been abducted from a very early age, but I didn't know that. And it was only about 3 months ago that they started to show me. So I always knew strange things had happened to me, but I've never really been able to understand it. And I wasn't ready to understand it. And funny when you talked about my childhood, because I went straight back to one of those times when I know that I've been taken. And the reason why that's coming up for me, one, because there's a lot of healing I need to do, because there's a lot of acute fear around the remembrance of what's happened to me, but also because some of my clients are coming to me who are having remembrance of the secret space programs. So in order for, and we're talking about me being able to hold that space, in order for me to be able to channel that information for them, to help them come into their remembrance and healing, they brought down my abductions, my fear, and all the things which have happened, so that there would be a connection between us.
Well, you mentioned the secret space program. Obviously, I'm doing a docu-series on someone who claims to have been in the secret space program, and he was framed for a murder. Now, none of it's true. It's all in his wet dreams, in a sense. The murder happened. He arranged it, and he's more delusional now than he was, and dangerous back in the younger years. So there are those who fake that stuff as well, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. Discernment.
Absolutely. Discernment. But what about this take on it? What about for some people? I'm not talking about him. Like you can see how much I love him, can't you? Right? Forget about him, right?
No judgment there, then, Kevin.
Yeah. No judgment whatsoever. Yeah. Only love. Where is he? Well, he's in jail. That's where he is for life. Unfortunately, but that's where his soul needs to be. And and he's done this before, probably in many other lifetimes.
It's a psychosis, isn't it? He has a mental illness.
Yeah. But for those coming to you that talk about that, could that secret space program reality be in another dimension, yet they're getting it mixed up thinking it's happening in this reality, but it's actually other lifetimes taking place elsewhere, and it seeps in, but actually to them, it's this life, but it's not.
It's interesting because I'll be honest with you, I'm still learning. I had no idea that this is a route that I would be going down, so I'm still learning. All I can say to you, it takes... So what's happening is that I am, through Oracle, tapping into the stages that they have been defractalized, if that makes sense. And in order to do that, we have to, first of all, remove absolute catatonic fear that's in the human body within the matrix system. And through that, we are peeling very gently back those layers. Now, sometimes it is a connection. There is a portal open between the dimension of reality, which is existing. As I'd said to you, we're all existing in different realities as multiple aspects of ourselves. And other times, so remember, we can be taken out of the time matrix. And I am really, and I don't know whether you felt this, the time matrix has very much got faster. It's speeding up. Okay, so it's speeding up. So we, in our third dimensional brain, can't understand what's happening outside of this existence, but we try to conceptualize a lot of things. And for us to understand that actually we can move in and out of that time matrix is something that's so far woo-woo that a lot of people can't get their head around it.
Yeah, and I'll use the word, we're talking about something maybe called a soul that's moving. It's the consciousness that's moving. It's not the physical. Yeah.
Yes. So we can, how is it possible that I could have been taken multiple times from the age of 6 up into different spacecraft where things have happened to me? How is that possible? Well, it is because they took me through a portal. It took me through a portal that took me into a different reality. So I'm still learning about this, which is why it's just
That's
so
interesting.
fascinating.
The Seth books talked about this, that the UFO phenomena, as we understand it, is not what we understand at all. It's actually out of this reality. That's what the
Completely.
And Seth never really touched on the UFO subject much. He wanted to stay with issues that are affecting us here, right? He felt that stuff was a distraction a bit. And maybe some of the clients you've got coming to you, that they are distracted by that, because it's always about, really, in a sense, what's going to save me, rather than taking responsibility for themselves, and they've got to do the work. Do you know what I mean?
Well, my understanding of this is, and I'm trying to be really compassionate with that, Kevin. So remember, when we have had trauma, it's held energetically in our body. So let's just go off a tangent then. So if I'm taking clients back into past lifetimes, if they have been, for instance, buried alive, if they have been raped, if they have been sold into child slavery, there will be elements of that trauma which are still held within, come outside of the body. When I see energy, when I'm coding, I see it, and this is just for me, I see it either as like a spider's web, or I see it as like a snowflake. And so I will code all the way through and remove energy, and we're going to the physical body and we remove it on the breath. So we have had that experience, and it doesn't stop. The amount of trauma that we've experienced, as slaves and all sorts of things. So that's held within the energy. If you have been part of, for want of a better word, because I don't know that I resonate with secret space program, but it's the easiest way to explain it. If we have been part of something that's so horrific, that will be held as an energy which reverberates in this lifetime. It will manifest as fear in this lifetime.
I get that. Yeah, absolutely. I could go
so
there.
At this point, what we do is we remove that energy first, but as we're removing it, I'm being shown how they've been programmed, how there have been, how their personalities have been split. And before we can do anything, we need to reclaim that essence of themselves that brings them back into what I call the I am presence. When we bring them back into the I am presence, then we can go along with all the other things that have happened. But where the personality has been split, and I don't understand how that happens, all I can say is that I can see it. The first thing is to bring that personality back into I am. And then from there, we can look at what we do or what we need to do and understand. And it might well be that they don't need to understand that detail. They just need to energetically heal and have that memory and the energy signature released from the physical body. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Yes, I think that's a great answer. I think the work that you do is great. As a reflection of what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. You go very deep into this. There's some light language channelers that are at different journeys to you. You're very deep with this information. I don't know if you're aware of that, but as someone who's interviewed other light language channelers, and you are at a different stage.
Yeah, and that's because when I had to learn who I am, and I don't really share this very much, because the first thing to do for me when I came into this work was to deconstruct the ego. I was very much in my 3D about ego. I can't work in this world if I'm all about, look at me, who I am. But there is a part of me that needs to be able to say, do you know, well, who am I? Well, in the work that I've done and what I've been shown and where I've been taken off, I understand that I am the master creator of galactic templates. That's why when I code Sulaminiskadesh and Okushka, I code very specifically with numbers and my key codes. I've gone back to having my planet blown up, and I've gone back and been shown how they got me off the planet, holding on to the energy of the key codes. From that planet, I then went to Lyra, and from there, I then went to other galaxies. So I know who I am, but I also understand that in that journey to bring my level of understanding and my frequency to this level, which is very unusual to hold within a holographic body on Earth at this time, I've had to do the shadow work. I've had to clear my Anunnaki. I had to clear the part of me that was responsible for the mass collapsing of multiple galaxies. I had to go into my voodoo past, my black magic past. Oh my goodness, that was horrific. I then had to clear my Nazi past. That was really difficult for me. And I kept finding that clients coming to me as we were going through their past lives, they would have been in the concentration camps. And I'm like, there was just such a resonance with me, but I couldn't understand it. And I'm like, okay, what are you showing me? And then they showed me who I was within the SS. And I had the face. I've even tried to find him on online. But I had to acknowledge all of my distaste, my absolute horror of all those things that I've done in the past, to be able to clear that density so that I can be upgraded. And the way I'm doing this so I can come up, so that my frequency and vibration resonates, so that I can bring in all of these codes that we need for the golden age and the review of the revival of who we are. And that's why many people, when they work with me, they will know me. People will just connect to me. And that's why I always say, use your discernment. If my energy and what I say resonates with you in truth and honor, that's amazing. And if it doesn't, that's also okay.
Yeah, because there's a teacher for everyone.
Yes.
And we can't help everyone, on a one-to-one like you do. I mean, it's just impossible. No. Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying in a sense is that the awakening for you was getting past one of your biggest blocks, which was, well, one of the blocks, let's say, which was the ego, but also to say it's not the death of the ego, it's the balance. It's the balance between the right and left brain. It's all in balance. It's not one more than the other. Some people are like, oh my God, my ego. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Let's just balance. This is you want to be in here, and this reality is really important. There's so many people in this field that just want to escape it. Oh, I can't wait to go back home. Oh, I can't wait to get to that fifth dimension.
I can't wait to go back home, but I can't go back home until I've done my work.
Yeah,
it's the same for all of us.
Yeah, but I mean, we're here
having a human experience.
Come on, guys, make the most of it. We've all got gifts in different ways. I'm all about the balance with this work, because some people can get way out of whack.
And, when I'm in my cabin, I'm in my right brain. And I say to some of my clients, a lot of people who are in their left brain, it's very difficult to come into what we call as the imagination. So when I did QHHT, level 2 practitioner, I did hundreds of them. The hardest thing was to say, okay, let's separate your left brain and your right brain. And the way we can do it is we can say the right brain is the portal into your galactic self, your cosmic self. Your left brain has to be there, because when you get in the car, you need to know when you've got to put the brakes on. You need to know when you need to be fed. That's what your left brain does. It keeps you connected to Earth. We are having a human experience. But that doesn't mean we can't balance the spiritual side, the side of us that needs to be seen, in order to absolutely, as you've said, to bring in balance. That's why we're here. That's why we've chosen. And we can choose. Remember, there's free will. Let's throw free will into the conversation. You have free will. If you don't want to, at this point, tackle those things, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It might mean that actually you choose to come back. There is a belief that actually you go when you die, so that I've been shown what happens, because in QHHT, I would take my clients out of their physical body up into space, and I will show them what happens when they pass. But I can do that through my light language. But people think that we will then go into a room and then everything will be replayed for us, and they go, oh, well, that wasn't good and that wasn't good. That's not how it works. When we leave the physical body, we go back into collective consciousness, and there we choose, because we have that free will, what we want to do. It's not a churn. It's not like insurance quotes. It's not a churn. You can choose to come back or you choose not to. It doesn't matter. So we get so bent out of shape in this lifetime. We hold on to so much anger, when actually, if we were just to understand that it's just a learning, it doesn't matter.
I always say, look, we're in this shared reality. There are consequences. Just like the trial in Wisconsin right now with Darrell Brooks. If you're going to run over 68 souls intentionally and kill many and injure the majority of them, there is a consequence. But you look at all the hate that's on him right now, in a sense, which I can understand why, but it's very difficult to, for people to see it from the perspective that we're talking about, because I'm okay to be in this reality for there to be a consequence. I'm good with that, right? I mean, we need it right now. We are not able to, to not do some of these. People are not able to control themselves sometimes, are they? And even though they've come in here with the contracts, but when you can look at it from a different perspective, it does help to see it from a different perspective. And maybe that gives some forgiveness as well, to feel in certain ways towards people. But that was just an extreme,
Everything happens for a reason. It doesn't just happen. This program, we've orchestrated our experiences in this lifetime. So everything that's happened to me, I've already pre-assigned for that to happen, and we've stepped up into that.
Absolutely. And anyone that I've ever met, well, most people I meet in this field, no one's pushing those ideas on anybody. Do you know what I mean? This isn't a religion, which, I'm sorry, it can be very pushy. Even the Christian religion can be. Yeah, right. I'm going to say it, right? Even though there's beautiful things about it, I do find it's very pushy sometimes. But there are a lot of beautiful people that I've met in the Christian religion as well. But that's where they're at. That's what that's what they need, and that's what their soul wants in this life as well. But I guess spirituality to me, it's a little bit. People can argue the cons about it all the time, right? But for me, it's a bit more freeing to see things with people like yourselves from that higher perspective. It doesn't mean you're not going to do the legwork in this life. You still got to do that. Yeah.
And two things for me that came up when you were saying that. One, when we get really indoctrinated in religion, whatever teaching that is, it's part of that control system. It's the false reality that person has chosen to experience. And when I'm working with past lifetimes with my clients, so many times when we've gone into servitude, so many times when we've gone into austerity, it's because we're still holding on to the remembrance of being within that indoctrination. And the other thing I wanted to say, many of us, I don't really call myself spiritual, to be honest. I'm just so black and white. Loaded, this is what I do. I don't need a big label for it. There is a lot of ego out there. There is a lot of distortion with people who believe that they are, more spiritual than somebody else, better than somebody else, because I have these gifts. And one of the things I always
doesn't mean they've worked on themselves. I'm sorry to butt in there, but doesn't mean they've worked on themselves.
Go ahead. This is it. You will. I just need to see the energy field, and I'm like, okay, you've got a lot of work to do. or you've got distortion there. You've got a lot of darkness there that needs to be seen, and it's off-planet darkness as well. And we are all on the journey. No one is higher. Just because I do this unbelievable work doesn't mean I'm better than you. I am on the journey with you. And when we can lose the ego, then we truly come into trust and belief. But there are a lot of people out there who will charge lots of money for what they do. They will claim to be able to do this, that, and the other, when in fact you need your discernment, because we are all at different levels of frequency. And in order to really hold high codes, we have to do that work, Kevin. We have to put the groundwork in.
Is there any sort of first sign for you that when you talk about discernment, that what would be a first red flag for you normally, in a sense, when it comes to discernment?
I feel it. So I work in energy. So I will feel it as it comes to me as a distortion, a vibration. So I work in vibration. So when I look at you, I can scan you down and I can see where you're blocked and I can see what's going on there. So it will come as a distortion, and then I will get that information and I'll be like, oh, you need to work on that. But that's not for me to say. It's for me to choose whether, I allow myself to be in that energy with you. There's in fact, there's only 2 people I allow into my energy field when I need help. If I can't clear something myself, there's only 2 people that I let in, because one, I am so protected. Not many people are able to get through, even if I give permission, but also because my frequency is of a level that I can't allow people of a lower frequency to come in and work with me. And I think everybody can take the fact that we wouldn't leave our children out in a football ground without us, would we? So why would you allow anyone to come into your energy field? Your energy field is sacred. It's so needing to be protected.
Well, unless there's some sort of a contractual thing from something from beyond this lifetime that you're meant to be doing, maybe.
Yes,
that can happen.
Could happen.
Yeah, that can happen.
But we are sovereigns of our energy field. Always keep it protected. Always keep it, in alignment, because many people can come in and they can do things that aren't necessarily for your highest good, which is why discernment is always and the word.
The thing is, though, you always know really deep down, even when you've let them in, you always know, and you ignore it. You just ignore it.
Yeah. And we do learn lessons that way. But so for me, it's interesting. I see an overlay. And if we're talking about overlays, what I love is when I work with clients. So I work literally all over the world. 99% of my work is all over the world on Zoom. And it works exactly the same as if you're in person, because we're working in the energy field. Of course we are. But I tell you what I love when I see energy. So I see energy as distortion. But when I see an overlay and someone who doesn't understand light language, they leave my session connected and speaking light language. That is testament, not to me at all, but that's testament to the higher self. That's testament to who we are as this expansion of self.
With your family, then, obviously you was in that very dark place, right? And I'm going to bring it up, but obviously you were going to, like you say, take your own life by means of train or whatever was going through your head then. And I'm very glad that you didn't do that and you've gone down the path that you're with us. But obviously you're not on your own with those thoughts. Many people have gone through that experience as well, right? And it was meant to be, and you can see like the bigger picture now. But obviously you've got a family there as well. And how have they seen Mum transform from who she was to who she is now? Are they just happy that you are in a great place, so no matter what she's doing, it's okay? Are they accepting of what you're doing? Do they recognize Mum? Where's Mum gone?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we're all on very different journeys, and I have to say, not many of what I would call my family or my old time friends really understand the work I do. And in a 3D self, I don't understand the work I do. So I think I've had to understand that I need to move aside in order to do this mission, to do my blueprint. And if people can't understand it, then that's absolutely fine. And one of the things I've found, which is interesting for a lot of other people who are probably going to watch this, is that I've had lots and lots of friendships of many, many, many years, of like 30, 40 years, that all of a sudden have just dropped away. Because when that happens, it's because we understand that the foundations of that friendship were built in the lessons that we are learning. So my need to be a people pleaser no longer serves me, because I've healed that aspect of myself. So we will find, as we come on our journey, friendships, relationships, family members will move away as we understand the contracts have been finished. And I found that really, really difficult. I have to say, I found it so difficult. But then I understood that as that went away, new friendships come in that are of equal. I didn't know what it was like to have someone actually message me and ask me how I was and how I was getting on, because I was always in a friendships where I would give. And it's the same for others. You'll notice that as we come into who we are in our strength, and we heal our need to be needed, and we heal our sense of separation, those things fall away and new opportunities come in. And it's about changing your timeline as well. So we can influence the timelines that we're activated on. And when we are holding density, when we are holding relationships that no longer serve us, it embeds us into lower frequencies. So when I work and adjust timelines, once again, because I'm visual, I will see them as literally slotted. Sometimes they're gold lines, they're other lines with codes in, and we can collapse those timelines and we can move ourselves up into abundance and possibility. But we can't do that while we hold on to the old frequencies, sometimes with family members and sometimes with friendships. And that is also a part of that perspective of understanding what the journey is into our own sovereignty again. Because we come into this world on our own, we exit on our own, and our journey is our own. And when we place ourselves as priority on that emotional journey, then we ascend, we learn quicker, we move through, our understanding becomes, it's like, oh, that makes absolute sense to me. Whereas 3 years ago, it didn't.
Right. Yes. Not easy what you're saying, and I can feel and imagine what it's been like for you a little bit, right? But reinforcing what you said as well is that I think all of us can relate to that. We all have some trauma in our life, and if we can look at that trauma, that it's there to evolve the soul and the human experience that you're having, which is
and to bring in your wisdom.
Intertwined, yes, and to bring in the wisdom.
And to take you from that point of slave, we become, I was a slave to my need to be liked by people, my need to prove what a lovely person I was. I was enslaved in that because my programming was about disempowerment. When we come into narcissism, it's all about disempowerment. And when we get to a point where we are able to look at that program, but also, there are things that I've done, and from this perspective of myself now, I think, oh, okay, that was a bit, perhaps I wouldn't have done that now. When we come into a place of forgiveness for all the things we've done that might not have been for our highest good and might have hurt other people, again, there comes a leveling up. We're not ascended masters, Kevin. We are learning along that rocky road. And there are times that we will say things. There are times that we will respond to things in a way that's very human. And when we give ourselves forgiveness for that, and when we forgive others for doing that to us, then honestly, we become lighter. there's nothing worse than holding on to anger. I've been the most angriest person you could ever meet, honestly. And to keep that level of anger in your body, honestly, you have to stoke your fire up to keep that level of anger. It takes so much energy. When you can let that go in forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others, oh my goodness, honestly, you go about 10 feet taller.
And that's regardless whether they've forgiven you or not.
Yes.
Right. Just want to state the obvious there, but yeah. Because some of us...
Because it's your journey.
Well, some of us...
It's about you.
Well, absolutely. But some of us feel that we can't forgive because they hate us so much, right? So, you know, if they hate us that much, why should I forgive myself? There is that cycle, and you've got to get past all that rubbish.
Because that's so 3D, you know, and where our awareness comes from is that it doesn't matter whether that person can't get over that hatred of you. You know, it doesn't matter what because that is a projection. Remember, when we have angry people in our lives, that is a projection of what they are dealing with and learning.
And it's also the level that you're at to have attracted such a situation, to take responsibility for it. And it's also the, you know, the contracts maybe that you've got between each other to have worked out. Because had you stayed together, it would have, you know, this would have been a longer lasting contract and it would be working out. And maybe you would have sorted out those ripples. Well, they said they felt a bit more on the ripples at the time. Yeah.
Or the big ripples or the big waves that come in.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. Someone else's opinion of you is not important. It's not your concern.
Well, you said earlier on that you were shattered into pieces. Your life was, you were just, I'll use the word you used, shattered. And you know what? A lot of us go through that. Some experiences in our life shatter us. But you know what I've learned from that shattering? Because I had it with my ex-wife. I mean, she just shattered us to pieces. But do you know what I've learned? I've learned that I asked for it, I chose it, and that was what she was meant to do. And it was a gift. And I've only started looking at it like that more recently. It was a gift, no matter what people say about her. Because if I could tune into her higher self, the true her, well, the her without so much of the baggage of this level, it would just be love. And it would be like, you did me the most wonderful, these are the wonderful things you did for me. These are the wonderful things you taught me. You know, but we forget, don't we, that there is that level of a person there, but all we see is the what we see here.
So to share with you, and once again, for people to see if it feels right for them, when we're faced with someone with that level of anger and, you know, aimed at us, rather than, and I've been in that place, rather than just hit anger with anger, what I do is I connect to the higher self and I ask forgiveness for everything I've done, and genuine from the heart, I am sorry in my learning lessons for whatever I've hurt you. And I say it in all dimensions, in all timelines, in all realities. I am sorry. And I ask for your forgiveness. You don't have to have them come back and say, I forgive you. That's not what it is. We are asking for that forgiveness on that vibration, and we send them love. Now, that, honestly, that ain't easy to do. We're not suddenly going to all turn into Mother Teresa. But if you can work to that point where you actually are able to go, in my part in this, I ask forgiveness for all I've done, consciously, unconsciously, on all timelines, in all realities, in all dimensions. And then we let it go. We don't have the responsibility to keep that going. We don't have that responsibility. And it really helps.
Yes, it does. Yes, absolutely. And I'm just sharing my little bit of, you know, I understand the sharing. I get that. And it's like, you don't see it as a positive. You don't see it as a...
At the time you don't.
No, absolutely not. But absolutely without it, maybe it's also guiding you on the path that you're supposed to be going on. There's so many reasons for it happening. Good reasons.
Everything is a learning, and everything was already orchestrated. You know, there are many things, as I said, I've done in my past lives that honestly are beyond. But when we have the courage when we have the courage to go, okay, well, I did that because, remember, we're learning what it's like to be light of light and dark of dark. That doesn't mean I have to hold on to it in this lifetime. I choose. You choose from your free will what you hold on to and what you let go of. And if you choose to hold on to it, well, then that's okay as well.
Yeah. How's that working out? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And no, there's no judgment there. If that's what, maybe that's what's going to give you some sort of very long-term healing, but there are other ways. And, as someone that's maybe going through something similar, I hope this helps you just to see that there is an alternative, and it's
And working with my light language, Kevin, this is a new level. The way I work is not mainstream. It's not for everybody. This is upgraded, quick coding, releasing, understanding.
Well, let's talk about some of your services then. Let's get in there, because I think that's important. I mean, there's so much we could talk about here as well. We are limited a little bit by time. I mean, you've got there's a whole journey here, and there's so many nuances to what you do. There really is. It's all interesting. So, services now. We've got. So you actually do the tarot as well. Now, where does the channeling fit in with the tarot, or the light language fit with the tarot? No, it doesn't. Okay.
So my journey into my knowing, first of all, came by chance. I became a Reiki Master. I was a tarot reader. I was a medium, thinking I wanted to go on platform, and then I realized that no one ever knew anything about their family, so I thought that's like pulling teeth, so I didn't want to do that. And I sort of did that until I came into the quantum world. And then I don't do any of that because I don't need to do it, because I can read your field. So what I do now is I offer two services. First of all, quantum light language healing. And that's where I read your field. I channel Oracle. I channel any of your star beings. I can channel anyone that wants to step forward. And then we do activation. So I clear and activate your codes. So it's very intense. So this morning I worked with a client who was in Mauritius. She only spoke French, so her brother translated. He lived in Birmingham, and we did a three-way, which was incredible. And I activated in her three sons, in her actual sons, in her coding. And our activate and our integrate any energies, any diamond codes, platinum codes, green codes, violet codes. I integrate Christ consciousness, Mother Mary. I work with elementals. I work with the angels. I'll bring in angel rings. I will reconnect you to the matrix of the ocean, inner earth. I've been doing a lot of work with inner earth, connecting to, and also when we're channeling, many of my clients have come from inner earth. And that's fascinating to see what body they were in and how they existed on inner earth. That to me is just incredible.
So a client comes to you now. They can ask questions, of course. If they're going to have questions to want to ask you, and they can ask about a whole variety. Well, most things they can ask about, really, to be honest with you.
Anything.
Right?
Their time.
Yeah, it's their time, right? Now, on your website, you've got My Soul Speaks to Your Soul as a service, right? Is that with light language?
Yeah. So everything I do, from the moment we start working, I will be in light language. Kise menaska dasana koye. And I will connect to Shemanaska Dora Sotoshe, to your team, to the Miniska Dasana Koisha, to the Miniske Daisha. And then we connect. So I'll spend a couple of minutes connecting. And everybody who hears my light language will sit there and it's just like coming home. It connects you back to your remembrance, even if you don't remember your light language. There is a resonance with it. It's like a balm that comes round you and protects you and loves you. And then from there, I will usually read the field. I'll get information about past lives. But the best part, and sometimes I find it too difficult, because they're coming in with light language, and then they're using my vocab in my very small brain, my human brain, to translate that into words that you can understand. And sometimes I'm like, oh, let me just step aside and just channel. And I will channel, and I'll be completely out of it. They will channel. But because it's an aspect of myself, I will see everything that's being told to my client. So I can they will describe the planets you've been on, what your form was, whether you were physical or whether you were energetic. They will explain to you about collective consciousness, how you fit into that and what form it fits into. We can go back into past lives. We go back into the underwater pyramids. We go back into inner sun. We can go back into Knights Templar, Druid energy. Oh my god, we go everywhere.
Future, whatever it may be, right?
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Well,
and then afterwards we code.
Yeah, because I mean, on your site, you've got White Dragon Code activations.
So on my website, I have 2 free downloads. So I work with dragons. I have integrated dragon. I've connected to my life as a dragon, and I've been shown my dragon death. And dragons, for me, there are no words. I cannot even tell you my love for the dragons. I've integrated my white dragon, and on my website as a gift, if you go on there, you can download white dragon activations. And also there's another activation going to inner sun and receiving gifts from Mother Mary and from Gaia. So I work with, and I can work with the angelics. I don't know where we go. I just step aside and they come and work through me.
Absolutely. And the QHHT as well, is that something that you still do, or is that because you've got the training that you... It's
really weird. It's really weird because I've completely... So QHHT was amazing because I never worked as it's trained. I actually used to channel Dolores Cannon as well when I was working. And I would always work with my light language because I can't separate it. And we would always do activations. And then that was my apprenticeship. So that was my apprenticeship into the quantum world as well. So now I do everything through my light language. So you can either have a light language healing with me. It's an hour. It's all recorded. There's so much information. It will take, several weeks for you to integrate and understand it. So I've really dumbed down, in a way, what I offer, because I used to offer past life regression. I used to offer soul matrix readings. I don't need to do any of that. This is next level. That's all I need to do. I do quantum light language healing, and I offer an 8-week mentorship program. So the 8-week mentorship program is not for the faint-hearted. It's 8 weeks where we dive into each of the energy centers. I have downloaded specific codes for coding and releasing those centers, and we connect you into your multidimensional self. We work through 12 centers over an 8-week period. That's all I do, because that's all I need to do.
And again, all this is on the website. We'll link everything in the description below. I'll link it below as services. So if you just go to the show more description, look at your services, and then you'll see the links there, which go straight to your website. And yeah, you've just you've got a lot on that website, a lot of great stuff. It's a real nice.
Thank you.
Real nice site.
Actually, that means a lot for me, Kevin, because I know that you know about those things. So thank you for that. That was all channeled. It was all channeled. And it is a bit like reading a book. It's not a web, you can take what you want from the website, but it is a bit, there are portals of energy and the understanding and channeling in the website. And that's beautiful.
What you do is really interesting. And we're going to do some light language channeling just very shortly as well. I just want to say, and I should have said this earlier on, that we all have a reason, and I use the word purpose lightly, but we all are here for a reason. We all chose to come here. Please don't forget that. People listening to this, if we're feeling, why does my life matter, or whatever people may be feeling, I'm insignificant, I'm not seen, or it's such a bigger contribution than I think people even understand what we contribute for the lives that we touch.
Absolutely. And for me, when I was told that my blueprint is to awaken others who are ready to have their remembrance codes activated, that made absolute sense to me. And I can only reach so many people at this time, so and I'm really excited to see where I knew that this interview was coming. They'd already told me. I didn't know it was you. They've already told me what's happening next year. So I go in trust and belief. The one thing that also is amazing, because I will only connect to people who resonate and are ready to work at that level. Lots of people are awakening and don't really understand any of this. And I've just been involved in a new business that's just we launched last month, called The Mentor Within. And The Mentor Within is a platform. It's a subscription platform. Michelle Piggott, who actually created it, her thing was bringing wellness and self-development at an affordable price to everybody, because not everybody can afford, to go and have regular healings, or, we have to be mindful of where we are at the moment in the whole money matrix. And so the Mentor Within has 7 mentors on it. We all download an hour of information. So I do my light language, I do a month forecast, we do meditations. There's so many different modalities on there. And the reason why I got involved with it, one, it's £20 a month, which hopefully a lot of people could afford. But, it brings everything to everybody. This is what this is about. If you want to understand about life coaching, nutrition, yoga, theta healing, light language, sound baths, if you want to come on in your tribe, and the one thing that I find, I'm desperate to be with my tribe, Kevin. I'm desperate to be with other people who don't necessarily get what I do, but feel my vibration and come from a place of love. Then that's why I got involved with the Mentor Within, because it means that we can reach more people. And that's what we're here for. You're here as a voice to champion those who are doing this work. And then we're stepping up to assist in bringing in that golden age. And let's face it, we're so ready for it at the moment.
Well, however far into the process we are, or however long the process will take once we're into it, I'm sure we're into it, but I mean, it's probably a long-term.
It is. We're in the state of disclosure at the moment, and that's nice for other people to know. At the moment, Kieska dasa manushka dira kieska, until we go into next year, we're in the deconstruction and disclosure of the dishonesty that's happening at the moment. And you're going to find a lot of things coming out in the media. I don't connect to the media at all anymore, but there will be a lot of disclosures, a lot of people being shocked with really what is underpinning what's happened in the last few years. And my advice to anyone is to just hold to their truth, know that the light's coming forward. In order to get where we need to get, we have to deconstruct the programs which have been happening. And you're part of that, Kevin. You're part of that.
Thank you. I just want to mention as well, we'll put this on the screen actually. And this is just some services that are sort of attached to what you do as well. For example, removal of self-sabotaging programming, identification and ending of soul contracts and other oaths, pledges and vows that we've taken in past lives, most probably, or that are actually not past, we just call it past. The healing of karma and removal of slavery templates.
Yep.
That's interesting.
That comes up a lot, and a lot of womb healing comes up as well. And let me just say, that's not just for, remember, we incarnate as male and female, so we hold that energy, whether you will have an energetic womb as well as being a man, and we hold so much. So womb healing is really, really important. Chips and implants that we have from our galactic lives when we've been taken into slavery. We have artificial intelligence programs running within us. So there are so many things that my lot that I work with, my rock stars come in and we clear through the field. And the other thing that I find fascinating is when I scan through the human body, because I actually get to see all of the organs working. And they will scan through the human body and say what needs to be, if there are things that need to happen, if there are supplements that need to be taken. It's absolutely fascinating, truly fascinating.
Yeah, and also I suppose you'll pick up on if some people feel that they've got some issue that they can't explain. Maybe sometimes it's also the collective energy that's out there right now. I mean, you could just if you're sensitive enough, you will feel this energy, man. It is intense.
You are so right. And one thing I will share as well, if you don't mind, just quickly, is the fact that when you wake up and you feel that intense energy, always check in with your higher self and ask, is this mine? Is it the collective's, or is it somebody else's? Because we carry other people's baggage when we don't need to.
Well, that's so true, yeah, especially with the times that we live in. Thank you for that. It's really interesting. So I think it'd be nice just to do a little bit of a channeling. But mind you, if there's anything you feel that I've left out, which just another hour's worth probably, or 2 or 3.
No, Kevin, you and I could be here talking. I can talk, as you can tell, I can talk for England, but we could be talking about so much. There is nothing that gives me greater pleasure than to talk about not only my work, but to talk about all the channeling information I'm given. And I just want everyone to know that they are enough. They are absolutely enough. We are so conditioned to think we are not enough.
Oh God, don't we?
When we can understand, when I connect with my clients, and I often say, oh my goodness, if you could only see what I can see. Your lifetimes where perhaps you've been in Lemuria and you've been working with crystals, your lifetimes off planet when you've been this. If only you could see what I could see, you wouldn't feel that there was lack. You wouldn't feel that you weren't seen, you weren't heard. And if you are feeling you're not seen and not heard, it's because in those lifetimes you have been unseen and unheard. And let's just change it. Let's come back. Let's be the best we can be. And we're all on a journey. It's hard work. Oh my goodness. Sometimes things come up for me and I'm like, oh, not again. We peeled that layer back and the onion, and then we're peeling another. And I'm like, no, I've just cleared all of that. And you're telling me I've got to go back and look at it. But there are lots of people out there who can help you. There's lots of people who can support you. And you're not alone. We are all navigating our way through this awakening. Oh, let's come in with some codes because they're already here. Kura miniska dashana kora kieska. So when I come in with my light language, just open up your heart. Tushe miniska dasana kora kise sansoya. Miniska dashana kodushke bidikisena kora kotosha nikiske danakaya. You are all holding the light. Tushe minushka badasana kaiti senakura. Ishe miniska dasana kotushka inikie. And even on those times when you feel tura minuska alone, tushke dasana kaya kora akha. We are here. Tushe minise nosokotosha. Sansoye keneska nahai itorakaya. Come back into your knowing, your truth. Tushe minise sansokoye. Kanaskadasi yekite inakaya kai. Recognize your vulnerability. Shunukushka maniska dasana kora. Ishe miniskata. And view yourself with compassion. Surakite, sansoya, ishe meniska dasanakora, okto shemeniska dasya. Heal the heart, tushikatasana kaskadora oktoye, maskadishe manushka daskarakaye, muskadoira meniska dasanakoi kiska dana ikite sanakaya. Connect through the third eye, through the crown, back into the source, tushikadasanakaye, tura mikiska. Ask us for our help. Touche, sonsosoye kite sanakora oktoya. This journey was never meant to be so hard. Tura makiske dasanakoya, ishe meniske dasanako, munushke barkaryeska do okujasanike, nasaye osha, ise kata, osha manuskotoya. Sometimes, tushemeniska, it's right to know when to put the sword, tushemeniska dasanakoya kiaskada, and the shield down, turamakie. And sometimes, tushemenushka dorakie, you need to know when to pick it up. Sora kie sanakoye, sansokie, 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 matasaye, tushe, tushe, tushe.
That's very beautiful, by the way, the sounds, and it is very beautiful. And sometimes for some people like myself, maybe that's what they're picking up initially, but there's something deeper going on than that. But just to recognize that, yeah. Would you say, and you may have answered this already, are you working with a team, a group, when you connect like you do?
So I'm working with the whole of the universe. So remember, I work with my higher self, my aspects of my higher self. I also work with those who step forward to assist me on my mission, on my blueprint. But I'm also channeling all of your team, your higher self. When we go back into your off-planet lifetimes, I will channel very different dialects. Honestly, it's so amazing. I channel completely different dialects. My light language changes because they're speaking through me to connect to you on that level of understanding of soul awakening. So I'm connecting to everything. And also sometimes, do you know, Kevin, sometimes it's always about what the client's higher self needs. Sometimes I just go into mediumship and I'll bring forward loved ones because there might be something that needs to be heard, you know, that's part of their healing as well. So I realize that everything I've learned, all the times I've sat in circle, all the times, you know, I've done shamanic work and mediumship has been my apprenticeship. All the times I worked in blue chip companies, that's been my apprenticeship. So that I bring all of that into this lifetime. I sat in trance circle for a long time. I had no idea why. Well, now I do, because it means I just step aside and I allow everything to channel through me. So trust and belief, that's what we have to do more than anything, just simply trust and believe.
Well, that's interesting what you had to say there and how it's working for you. Obviously on the, you know, on the news, there's some crazy words that get trucked around nowadays, and it's, you know, for some people it'd be very scary when you've got country leaders talking about use of nuclear low yield tactical weapons and the devastation that would cause. I mean, look at some of the stories of experiences with potential ETs and people in power, maybe, where they've talked about the unforeseen effects it has on different dimensions, and that we were, you know, that are we aware of that right now? Is it true? That's what people have said. In I think even in their abduction experiences, but just with that nature of scare tacticness that's being used. What would be a channeled message for that?
Yeah, so let's see. So soya kise na kaya kore kise na kuchia. It is our greatest pleasure to reconnect with you. As you know, this has been some time coming, but everything came into alignment, and we are very grateful. In your timelines on Earth, there is much distortion. It is about the fear matrix. Yes, it is true that the reverberations of Earth's energies are connected not only into Earth templates, but also into the galactic fields as well. There are many who are awakening to the understanding of the dark programs which are in the reality of your planet. They are being woven into the templates, and we are actively awakening those starseeds who are holding strategic points on the grid so that we may recode and deactivate. When one can step out of the fear, when one can step out of the separation, the greed and the distortion, we may come back into what we call a 0-point perspective. There is much distortion from many of the galactic wars, which are still reverberating through many of the sixth dimensional programs and templates. There is more communication with those on Earth than is being allowed to be understood. We shall show ourselves more. It has been a case that you have been created an image that we are of lower intention, that we are here to destroy. This is so far from the very truth. We are here as light bearers. We are here as emancipators for those who have been caught within many of the satanic and dark rituals of your planet. It is time to end draconian codes, and it is in that channeling of light language frequencies that we are assisting those awakening into their off-galactic energy systems, who are working not only within the physical, but also in the energetic. Be aware, please, that there is much work taking place within the sleep state of those starseeds who have agreed to assist in the repatriation of many of the souls caught within satanic rituals and also within the slavery masks. All shall be revealed, but we understand that this is a time of much concern. We ask you, please, to stay true to the light, to remove yourself from those programs which are transmitted through the 5G on your planet. There are many subliminal messages which are being transmitted not only through the airwaves, but they are also coded into the water. Take a more puristic look at your life, at what is important. There is much cruelty existing, and it is only when the collective comes together as one voice that you may make change. We are supporting in many federations of light. We are working from above as also from your inner earth. There are many other planets which are transitioning at this time too. It is not simply Earth that is moving. There are other planets which are shifting in the galactic templates of light. For what you may call the new vibration to come into your planet, there will be a shift of the axes of your Earth. This will allow a new reality to come forward and embed. There will be those who are caught in the entrapment of this Earth, and there will be those who are of light that shall move with pure intention into a simultaneous reality that shall exist alongside as the first stage of the awakening. For that is what you are working for, dear one. It is the freedom of the mind, the spirit, and the soul. Do not allow yourself and those who are working on decoding lower frequencies. Do not allow yourself to get caught in the chaos. Know that there is much work happening. There will be more understanding of our efforts. There will be more channelers coming forward. Also be aware that there will be some who are also receiving the lower programs. But we will be activating more codes of remembrance. There will be many healers stepping forward with extraordinary powers. There is much earth healing that must take place, but also there is much soul healing to be activated. Connect into many of the rays, the platinum codes, the sun codes, green codes, and diamond codes. These are of the highest frequency, for these are being woven into the very fabrics of your atmosphere. This is why many will find there are latent strands within the DNA which are being adjusted. The moving of the crystalline body into higher frequencies of knowing. It is all in hand. But at times there must be chaos before there can be light.
And may I ask, what is this energy that's coming through now?
We are working on the platinum field light. This vibration is in alignment with many of those who have chosen to incarnate. This is why you will find many people are stepping into their crystalline body. The platinum codes are that which is the activation of the dormant strands of DNA in 6, 5, 9, and 4. These strands will bring in higher levels of consciousness. They bring in the activation also, dear one, of the ability to master, again, telepathic thought. For when you may transcend the conscious mind, you are already plugged in to that which is happening within the galactic spheres. There are many of the codes. You may understand it as perhaps prisms of light, which are being activated on your earth. These are also held within many of the crystalline grids of your inner earth. They are reflecting as we are channeling down. Many people are activated into multiple codes of light. There is perhaps many which are still waiting to be activated. The vessel that we are channeling through has activation into 9 of the different light codes. Therefore, they can be used at will. We are activating many others into the sacred light so that they may also assist in the uplifting of the crystalline grid, but also the crystalline physical body.
Well, just thank you so much for that message.
Know, dear one, that there is much work taking place. As we always say, connect into your truth, for that is where the light of remembrance resides. All is not lost. It is simply an adjustment.
Thank you. Well, that was interesting. I didn't expect you to sort of go into that sort of deep state there. I don't think you normally do that. Well, I don't think you do. I know you can.
That's how I channel all the time. That's how I channel in my one-to-ones.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because I've probably not seen that. Then it's just probably been the light language that I experienced with. Well, it was. That's very interesting. So you can drop into that state and
straight away,
and it's just like that. And when you're doing that, are you in? I know with the light language, most times you remember it in just after the process, but
I don't. What will happen is, so I step aside, so I completely come out of my physical body. I have no idea what I channeled for you then, but when I'm working with my clients, that's what we channel into. So that's where we will go off planet. They will take me to all the different planets that my clients have lived in and past lives, etc. And because I don't remember, I mean, I see so many clients. I have a very small brain. I'm also like menopausal, Kevin. I can't remember anything. But what they will do is that they will so I will sit here and they will bring down the things that they want you to remember. So they will say, oh, and I'll go, oh, okay. And it's like I hook into it and they bring that down and they bring the next one down. But that's why I record, because I can channel for 45 minutes.
Really? Wow, I did not know that.
So in our time together is normally an hour. It depends what I could channel for the whole hour. And then we'll do your light codes afterwards. I try to keep it to the hour because that's easier. I can only see, like 3 clients a day. After that, I'm a bit of a gibbering wreck.
I get that, yeah.
I will channel at that level. Yeah. And it's funny because when I first started doing this, my light languages were like 40 minutes. But where they've upgraded me, I can achieve in 10 minutes what I used to do in 40.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I know for some channelers, it exerts a... Well, I was going to stop myself. I was going to say it exerts a lot of energy, but actually that's not true. It's just they don't always stay in that. They can always stay in that state for too long. But that's very... you learn something new all the time with interviewing so many. Absolutely, you do. Okay, so let's just get your website as well one last time.
Okay. So my website is tinasladeexpansion.com. And on there, really, if people don't want to obviously book in with me, that's absolutely fine, because I'm here talking about what we can do. But there are those 2 downloads. Download them. They're so beautiful. The white dragon codes, the dragon. I integrated my dragon just as I was about to board a flight from Bangkok. And I thought, I'm just sort of like sitting here waiting to board. And then all of a sudden, my eyes roll to the back of my head. I'm starting coding. And I'm bringing in this white dragon of all the times. But of course, they took me out of the time matrix to do it. So that code is, those codes are beautiful. And the journey to the inner sun is lovely. They're gifts. And I will put free activations on there, because for me, it isn't about, I have to earn a living. I can't go to Tesco's, do my shop and go, do you know what? I'm going to pay you with light language.
Absolutely.
But for those who, at this point, perhaps my work is not at the level that they're looking for, go and get the activations online. They're my gifts. And I will continue to do free ones on there as well, because, it's really important for me that the people who need it get it.
Yeah. Well, I will put the actual links for them in the description below, so that people, if they're
amazing,
it's not hard to find on your site, but just to make it easier as well, they are in the show more section just below this video as well. And if you listen to this on a podcast, I will put it on the site that you're listening to. There'll be some links on there as well. I guess my final question really is, I've got to pause there. I was gonna say it, but I'll say it anyway, right? But I was gonna say it differently.
Go for it.
You're not really. If I said to you, where do you see yourself going with this work? That's not really the way that you're viewing it, are you? You're really about here now. Wherever it takes you in a sense. I've answered my own question. Yeah.
No, and you're absolutely right, because I used to be the most controlling person you could ever meet. Honestly, I had to control everything. And part of my deconstruction of the ego was to step into trust and belief. And that was really
Well,
hard
that's why
for
I'm
me.
saying that. Yeah, that's why I'm saying I didn't think that you, yeah, right.
No. So for me, when I used to do the affirmations of, I don't know the end destination, but I trust where I'm going. And that really helped me. And I have been shown what's happening next year and the next year. I've been shown that already. I knew that we were going to meet. I knew that. I know what's going to happen. But actually, the detail I don't need to know, because it all will come to me. The doors will open and I don't have to control it. And do you know what? That's liberating, Kevin. I don't have to control anything. My clients find me. You found me. I found you. And I trust that wherever it goes with love and light, and it goes with absolute honesty and truth.
Well, I hope that I see you out there on different platforms one day, you know, as you get the word of your work out there, which I'm sure you will do. I hope this helps you to do that as well. That would be my gift to you, most definitely.
And you know that you and I are going to be working in the future. We've already said that before. So,
yeah.
So it's just lovely to connect to you.
Absolutely.
And honestly, thank you so much for just allowing me to talk about my work. It is my absolute passion. It's why would you want to do anything else, honestly?
No, you are one of my oh yeah, you're one of my favorites when it comes to light language, because I just think it's because of the work you've done yourself. You know, that's a difficult path to go down, to do that work. I don't even know if I could bring myself to do all that depth of work, because when you were saying it, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'd ever do that. You know, I'm just thinking about it in my head while we're having the conversation, but I know what that takes. So thank you for going down that path, because look what it's opened up for you. So yeah, I honor your work, and just thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, honestly, it's my absolute pleasure. Kotoshe meniske desana koye, shanso kotoshe menise sansoya, nisekite samanuku diaba disekita, sonakoya kisenaka. Thank you so much. Thank you.